welcome to this video. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ash, and if you're not new, thank you so much for coming back. Today I'm going to be talking all about the thing that probably stressed me out the most before I left with PCT, and this is resupply. In this video I'm going to talk all about my resupply plan that I made before I left, and I'm going to go through this and I'm going to talk about every place that I did resupply and whether I think it's worth sending a box there or not. And I'm going to talk about how sending boxes actually works. Before I get stuck in, I just want to say that you do not need to make a detailed spreadsheet for resupply. I met plenty of people. I would say the majority of people I met were just winging it as they went, and honestly it is so much easier than you imagine. I thought it was going to be this really complicated mission to resupply, especially from being from overseas. I couldn't really prepare boxes beforehand, but honestly it is so much easier than you would imagine. But we'll get stuck into the spreadsheet anyway. So I'm gonna put on the screen here, this is the original plan that I made before I left. I put this plan together from looking at lots of other different people's resupply plans, and I kind of just researched each place, kind of just to get a rough idea of where I wanted to send boxes, where I wanted to resupply. I will say I did quite like having this little spreadsheet. Kind of helped give me ETAs of when I was going to be in places, but I will put this spreadsheet or a PDF of or whatever in the description of the video. Okay, so I'm going to go through my revised PCT resupply guide. This is going to have notes of the places that I sent my boxes and everywhere I resupplied. And just so we know on how the actual spreadsheet worked for me, what I would do is I would have the miles down the side, I've got the location, then I had a formula to figure out the miles to the next resupply, and then I figured out the days to the next resupply by putting a formula, which at the start was 15 miles per day. Then I knocked it up to 18 and then up to 20. So this was just a very rough guide because it was also connected to a formula. This sounds really complicated, for the ETA for the date. And then in the zeros column, if I took a day off, I could put that in and then it would update the ETAs. This was just a rough guide really, just especially for sending boxes, because you have to put the ETA of when you think you're going to get to the place. So yeah, it was just a rough idea. I really liked having this. I will say it was inspired by Arielee, I can't remember her surname. I'm going to post her video on, she's got a great video on resupply, and I was inspired by her spreadsheet, so definitely check out that one. Okay, so when I got to San Diego, I did make some boxes. I made 6 boxes. This was totally unnecessary, I will say. I just wanted to stay as healthy as I could on trail, so I sent a lot more boxes than most people. I just was conscious of my nutrition out there, but it is not necessary for a lot of these places that I did send boxes to, but we'll go through that. So Campo Mile 0, if you're taking the Southern Terminus shuttle, you will stop in the Green Store on the way there, so you can pick up some things here. If you're going to be in San Diego, you may as well resupply there though. I resupplied in a big Walmart. So for my first stretch, I packed enough food basically to take me to Mount Laguna, but I also stopped in Lake Marina Malt Shop, which is about mile 20, just to pick up a few bits. So do keep that in mind. You pretty much really only need to start with enough food to get you 20 miles in. So if you're going slow at the start, a couple of days really, because you can pick up stuff in the store in Lake Marina. It is quite small, but you'll be able to get the basics. I sent my first box to Mount Laguna. You could definitely easily resupply here if you're not too fussy. And in this box, I had enough food to take me all the way to Warner Springs. But you could stop earlier. You could get off at Scissors Crossing and go to Julian at mile 78, which we ended up doing anyway, but I did have the food. I didn't need to go in. I was very happy I did though. They have an amazing brewery and mum's pies. At least in my year, they were giving out free slices of pie to PCT hikers. It was the best thing ever.
The pie. This is an essential part of the PCT experience.
We actually, we did a Nero, not a zero, in Julian, and it was well worth it. So you could resupply there. But like I said, I carried food all the way up to Warner Springs. So it was recommended to send a box to Warner Springs, but I did send a box there. I ended up not putting the address on it correctly, so it didn't turn up. But the grocery store there, it was small, but I was able to get a resupply there, no bother. And there was actually someone at basically where the Warner Springs Community Centre bit is, doing like shuttles to the grocery store. Like it's only a mile, but it was great to have that. So I was able to resupply no bother there. So the next place I sent a resupply box to was Idlewild. Again, totally unnecessary. There's an amazing supermarket there. You don't need to send a box there. And I basically had enough food in my box to take me to Big Bear, which was in my original plan. But between Idlewild and Big Bear, you can stop in Cabazon. And actually it was really easy to order an Uber from the trailhead. And a lot of people do this. They'll take an Uber to the In-N-Out Burger, and you can even stay in the casino there, which we did. It was so amazing. It was great. So you could pick up extra bits if you wanted a shorter resupply. But yeah, I carried all the way to Big Bear. Big Bear is great. There is definitely no need to send a box there. There is a free shuttle that takes you to, I can't remember, it's a really big supermarket, probably something like Walmart. I did, however, end up with a box in Big Bear because my one that was supposed to arrive at Warner Springs got bounced there. So I didn't need a resupply there, but resupply is great. Big Bear is great. Loved it, one of my favorite places. So I basically planned to carry then from Big Bear to Wrightwood, but in between those two is Cajon Pass, which is famous for its McDonald's.
The Cajon Valley or McDonald's is the best McDonald's in the world.
Yes.
No body weight in Sprite. Man, it's just like paradise.
So you could pick up some things there. If I remember rightly, there's a gas station. So if you're not too fussy, you could also do the McDonald's challenge that some people do where they just eat McDonald's for 2 days. I did not do this, probably wouldn't recommend it, but you can also from here, if you're really desperate, you can take an Uber to, I can't remember, it's not too far from there, but there's like supermarkets and an REI. We actually did take an Uber to the REI. But yeah, you could easily get somewhere to resupply from there if you needed. So next up at mile 369 is Wrightwood. This is a really easy resupply here again. I just picked up food when I got there. Next on my list was LARV Resort. I sent a box here. If I was just staying there, I would have been really happy with a box. There wasn't an awful lot there in the little shop. But we did end up hitching a ride into Palmdale, which has lots of hotels, resupply options, Target. It is the home birthplace of my big banana shirt. So I was really glad I called in there. So yeah, you can easily get out to there, or if not, probably a good idea to send a resupply box, but not fully essential. So my next resupply point was Hikertown, but I will say en route to Hikertown, you're gonna pass a little town called Agua Dulce. There is a Mexican restaurant there, which we stopped in for dinner, and it's great. I recommend it. So on to Hikertown. A lot of people send a box to Hikertown. I sent one, but I wouldn't say it's completely essential. Hikertown does run shuttles to a market. Or there's Weevil Market. They actually picked us up and brought us there. We ended up camping at Weevil, and we really liked it there. The grocery store was really good. So again, people say send a box to Hikertown. I would say, in my experience, not fully essential. Next up on my list is Tehachapi. Tehachapi is massive. It was a great place. There's so many supermarkets. Really liked it there. I had originally planned to go all the way from Tehachapi to Kennedy Meadows, but we decided to take Zero in Kernville, which was a long hitch from Walker Pass, but it was a great town. Really loved it there. It was one of my favorite Zeros. But you could pop off at Walker Pass and you could go to Ridgecrest, which is a little bit closer, or Lake Isabella. They are closer hitches. So it is really easy, I would say, to resupply. At least we had no problem resupplying from Walker Pass if you don't want to carry from Tehachapi all the way to Kennedy Meadows. So let's talk about Kennedy Meadows. I get excited just saying the word. Great place. So most people do send a box here. It is recommended to send a box here. I sent a box here. I was pretty happy I sent the box, to be honest. The store is quite limited, but not the end of the world. If you really needed to, you probably could resupply, but if you're going into the Sierra, you're gonna wanna have probably good food, and probably a lot of food because I think it's quite a big section. Probably a good idea to send a box. So this is where things get a bit weird on my spreadsheet. If you followed anything to do with PCT 2023, you'll know that it was a record-breaking snow year, and many people did not go through the Sierra, me and my trail family included. So we did do the first section of the Sierra, which took us to Lone Pine was the next town. So I carried enough food from Kennedy Meadows to Lone Pine, and this is where we got a ride up to Northern California to bypass that section. But I've left in my original plan for what I would have done in that section if it's useful. So we rejoined the trail at Old Station, and I resupplied en route just on the road trip there. I had originally planned to send a box to Bernie Falls State Park, but because I resupplied on way to Old Station, I didn't need to. But we did call into Bernie Falls State Park for an ice cream. It was worth seeing, it was really cool. My next resupply was at Mount Shasta. I didn't send a box here. Resupply was great. Mount Shasta was a great place, really enjoyed it. After that was Etna. Resupply again was really good here. There's like a dollar store and all, so did not need to send a box there. After that, I resupplied at Syad Valley. It is basic, it's a small place, there's not much there, but I was able to resupply there. I didn't need a box there. After that, I resupplied in Ashland. This is a great place to resupply. We ended up taking a 00 here to sort our boxes for Oregon. So there's a couple of places that people recommended. This is Mazama Village, which is Crater Lake basically, and Shelter Cove. So in Ashland, I made those 2 boxes and shopped for my resupply for the next section. So from Ashland, I carried my food all the way until Crater Lake, but there are some resorts along the way. This is the great thing about Oregon. There's lots of like lake resorts. One that we went to, which was off trail, was Lake of the Woods Resort. And they actually had a really good shop, and they had like everything you would need. So do your research, but there's lots of places that you could stop. But I carried all the way to Mazama Village, which is Crater Lake. I sent a box to Mazama Village. You could resupply in the store. It was pretty expensive and pretty basic, so I would probably recommend sending a box there. And next up was Shelter Cove. That is the same as above. Pretty expensive, pretty limited, so I was happy I sent a box here. I ended up having far too much food at one point, so while I was in Shelter Cove, I actually sent another box on to Timberline Lodge, which wasn't really necessary, but I didn't need to carry an extra 3 days worth of food, and I was like, if I put this in here, that'll take me from there to the next place, so that's what I did. Okay, so after Shelter Cove is Bend. Bend is one of the best towns on the PCT, in my opinion. I loved it. If you go there, you should definitely float down the river in a rubber ring. You'll have the best fun ever. Didn't need to send a box here. Resupply is amazing. This is where we took the most amount of zeros, because from here we sorted our resupply basically all the way up to Canada, or at least all our boxes that would take us to Canada. So that was a lot of work. That was quite stressful, to be honest. Here we made our boxes for Trout Lake, Whites Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, Stevens Pass and Stehekin. So we got them all sent off, which was great once that was done, because we knew there was only one more place we actually had to resupply. The rest was just pick up boxes. Okay, so after Bend, we got the Timberline Lodge. This was so lovely. We actually stayed in the Timberline Lodge. I did send a box here, like I said. It was like overflow food, but there is a shuttle that takes you to a little town. I think it's called Big Lake Youth Camp, but look into that because I can't remember. And the resupply was really good there. So yeah, it's like a $2 shuttle to take you into a little town that's like, I don't know, 10 minutes away. So you could easily pick up food there. But like I said, I had my box. After Timberline Lodge, we went to Cascade Locks. Now from here, you could easily do your washing in boxes here, because there's a bus that takes you to Hood River, and there's a big Walmart there. There's a post office, everything you need to do your boxes. But I was glad that I did it in Ashland, because we were getting to Cascade Locks for Trail Days, which is one of the best events ever. So I just wanted to really enjoy that time there, and caught up with so many PCT friends, and it was just great. It was nice not to have to worry about making like 4 or 5 resupply boxes and stressing, but you could absolutely wait until Cascade Locks to sort your resupply for Washington. So after we partied very hard in Cascade Locks, our next stop was Trout Lake. Most people will send boxes to Trout Lake. I have to say, I was really impressed with the little store there. They even had a PCT section. So while I was glad I had a box, because it meant I could relax instead of resupplying, you don't need to. At least when I was there, you could resupply there. Next up was Whites Pass. Again, another place that most people recommend sending a box. I was quite happy I sent the box, but you could, if you needed to, resupply in the store there. But it is pretty basic and pretty expensive. Next up was Snoqualmie Pass. Same as above, really. They have a store. It's a wee bit bigger than the previous one. So you could resupply if you're not fussy there. I was happy to have a box, to be honest. Next up is Stevens Pass ski area. If you're just going through here, I would recommend sending a box. However, it was my birthday, so we hitched in Leavenworth, and I could have easily resupplied there, but I was happy to have my box at Stevens Ski Pass, because if I had just been passing through, I could have picked up the box and kept going. And lastly, we have Stehekin. Most people recommend sending a box here. I was glad I sent one. They do have a little tiny shop. If you were really desperate, you probably could pick up some things, but I would recommend a box here. And I carried my food all the way to Manning Park. So that was pretty much every place I resupplied. I sent more boxes than was necessary, but I'll be honest, I was quite happy that I did send boxes, even though it was a lot of effort. It meant when I got into town, I could spend time editing these videos, not this video, but the trail videos, instead of having to go around shopping and stressing about resupply. So just whatever works for you. A lot of people find it a lot less stressful to just take it one town at a time. Far Out app is going to be your best friend. It makes it really easy to plan it, and honestly, it's not as complicated as it sounds. I probably make it sound really complicated. It's really not. So just in summary, the places that I would recommend sending a box would be LA RV Resort. If you're not leaving the campsite, we did go to Palmdale and it was great for resupply and the big banana shirt. But if you're just staying there, probably a good idea to send a box. I would also recommend sending a box to Kennedy Meadows South. I'd also recommend sending one to Crater Lake and Shelter Cove, White's Pass, Snoqualmie, Stevens Pass and Stehekin. They are the places that I personally, if I was to do it again, would send a box to. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how do you actually send boxes. I usually posted resupplies using USPS priority flat rate boxes, and the handy thing with this is that you can pick up the box for free in a post office, and the price is based on the box size rather than weight. So depending on the size of the box, the prices run from around $17 to $22-ish. I usually use medium-sized boxes, but if it was more than a 5-day resupply, I would need the bigger ones. And they're usually pretty fast, I think around 1 to 3 working days, but definitely check with the post office first, but I think it was around that. And at the time of my hike, using this service allowed you 1 free bounce of your box. Like for example, if I say I got the Idlewild and I still had too much food, as long as I didn't open the box at the post office, I could redirect it, bounce it onwards to another post office or address. I was able to use that with the box that didn't turn up at Warner Springs, and I was also able to use that with my tent. When I posted my tent ahead, I decided at the next place, actually I'm going to stick to the trekking pole tent and I'm going to send the freestanding tent away. I was able to bounce that then for free. Usually boxes are held in the post office for up to a month, although I have heard some places only hold it for 2 weeks, but I had no problems. They seem to hold them for around a month at least. I didn't have any problems, but it is recommended to put your name on the box, of course. Your actual name, not your trail name, and your ETA. If it was me, I would recommend adding on extra days. I got COVID at the start, so thankfully I did add on like a couple of weeks onto my ETA because it ended up taking me a wee while until I was able to get going again. Put a contact number on your box as well, and then write hold for PCT hiker. It is also really helpful if you make the box distinctive, because sometimes you get there and you see there is loads of boxes for hold for hiker, and if you can say, oh, I've got pink tape on it, I drew swirls and a little poodle on it for luck, so it made it more distinctive and it was easier for the people to find it. So there is another way to post. You don't have to post that way. You can also use your own box and pay per distance and weight. This can be useful if you're not in a rush to get your box or if it doesn't weigh much. I did end up using this a few times because I was curious to see would it work out cheaper. For some of them, you know, if it was like, I don't know, maybe it was a smaller resupply and it was lighter food and I was in no rush for it, maybe I saved like $5 or so, but then some of them, because they were heavier, ended up being the same weight. But you know, keep that in mind that there is other ways to send it, and definitely ask in the post office, because I am no wizard on US Postal Service, but I will say it is a lot easier than I expected. I thought it was going to be really complicated, but it's really not. So in a nutshell, with how to send boxes, go to the post office, pick up your boxes, you'll see them, they're folded flat. Buy some tape, or sometimes there's tape in the post office, shove it full of food, take everything out of their packets because you want to try and squish as much as you can in. So fill it full and then tape it up. Write all those details on it, like I said, like your ETA and all, and then bring it to the post office, and if it's say medium box, they'll charge you like $17, and then they post it off, and when you get to the place, wherever you're going, post office or whatever, you can then pick it up again. So it was all pretty smooth for me, the sending stuff. I was sending stuff all the time. I had to send my ice axe multiple locations, my micro spikes. I sent some warm gear away at one point. When one GoPro broke, I sent that away, and I felt like my stuff was kind of spread out all through the country. I had some stuff at a lovely trail angel who's holding it. I had some stuff at Wayward's house, Dr. Dynamite's house. So yeah, it's quite easy to get stuff back and forward there. And with the food resupplies as well, it's honestly great to be able to do that. And like I said, You do not need to have a spreadsheet. You don't need to do this amount of planning. If anything, I want you to go away from this video feeling that it is going to be a lot easier than you think, and that you really can just plan it while you're out there. But if you're someone who thinks you're going to stress about it and you want to prepare things beforehand, like hopefully this guide can be a little bit of help for places to post things. Like I said, the main reason why I was posting so many boxes was because I wanted to keep on top of nutrition. I was able to send like healthier foods, and also it was just lovely to get to a town and be able to take a break or do my editing without having to be like, okay, I need to get straight out to the supermarket and sort out like 5 to 7 days worth of food. So I think that's all I am going to talk about. There's one thing I didn't mention, and that was bounce boxes. I don't really have any experience of doing them, but I will post a link in the description of a video that I watched beforehand that was really useful. He will do the topic justice more than I will. I'm going to post a few people's videos on resupply that I found useful. Definitely check out the description below, because if there's any edits to this or any corrections or updates, I'll also post that down there too. And I'll also post my plan that I made before I went out, and then I'm also going to post basically just this spreadsheet that has everywhere I resupplied, some notes along the side. It's a bit of a mess, but hopefully it's of some use. My main advice would be try not to stress too much about it. Just get out there. Try not to look further than a month ahead. You know, if it helps to just plan 1 month like the start, like I did, plan up to Kennedy Meadows, send a few boxes from San Diego if you really want to. Not essential, but take it 1 month at a time. And yeah, it's not as hard or difficult as it sounds. And I think that is all for this video. I'm hopefully going to do one that looks a bit more into the sort of food I was eating, nutrition on trail, and how to stay healthy on trail. So if that's of interest to you, and if you like watching these videos, please remember to subscribe and like the video. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!